So that is the announcement of Malik Neighbors going up to the commish and becoming a New York Giant. Welcome to the NFL, Malik Neighbors. It's always exciting this time of year for the first pick, and then the 7-8 days it takes to do the draft now. So we'll get into everything draft related. This is the Three Angry Giant Fans and a Jet Fan. It's your host Scott, Giant Mike, Cardone, and Jet Fan Novak. And guys, season 5. We already did an opening show that was sort of doing this off-season preview. We're doing this show. We're going to come back and do the schedule, which I heard is going to be out like May 10th now. So just in a week or so. So welcome back, season 5. Cardone looks spiffy in season 5. I'm dressed in DraftKings. Novak's got his John Starks jersey on.
I figured we're not a startup anymore. We're kind of going corporate, So I actually have a shirt that has buttons on it for some reason. So I don't know. I don't have a good explanation for that one, guys. Sorry.
Yeah, I think one of us got contacted by higher ups and said to ship it up. They're coming through Cardone. He's like, you need to lose the rest of those losers.
It's like the Seinfeld episode where Jerry's got to get rid of everyone else, for him to have the show.
I thought maybe you're going to go Greg Brady with the when he was just Johnny Bravo, and he's like, no, there's 6 of us. No, just you, love.
Yeah.
Wait a minute, we're a band. No. You're a solo guy. You're
exactly
Johnny
what
Bravo.
I thought. Yeah, I thought they were coming to you for a solo career.
And I'm wearing a 1994 Knicks jersey, which shows you what my class is.
Hey, they made the finals that year. That was the most decent run they've had in my lifetime.
Hat, my Knicks jersey, I'm ready. Yeah. It's 94 all over again.
94 all over again.
So before we get into everything, let's give a shout out. It's something we do every episode, and season 5 will be no different. So hello, Argyle, Texas, population 4,403. It's a suburb of Fort Worth, and many early settlers there were Scottish, so they chose Argyle, which is, of course, a famous pattern in many tartans and things of Scottish nature. So in 1878, Argyle had a school, a Baptist church, and a post office, and that was their heyday. After the Great Depression, Argyle had a population of 50. So hard times for Argyle. Then it's rebounded now to 4,403 people.
I mean, if their high school sports teams aren't dressed in Argyle like Carolina Tar Heels, I'm really disappointed by this.
Yeah,
it's a good point. They're missing something there if that's not the case.
Seriously,
I'm looking it up here on the map. It looks like they have a Uncle Mike's Bistro there. I bet you that's good.
Oh,
the Uncle Mike's Bistro. Shout out Uncle Mike's Bistro in Argyle, Texas.
And I wonder if it has the same menu as Jack's Bistro in Santa Monica or wherever. Jack Tripper. Remember he opened up his own Jack's Bistro? That's right. It's like there's like three tables in the whole restaurant. Jack's Bistro.
Yeah. That would
have to be a bistro.
I thought you were going to reference the Regal Beagle after that or something.
Oh.
Kick it off 2024 with the Three's Company reference out of the gate.
The Regal Beagle. That is awesome.
So the big to-do this week was the draft, of course, and Giants tried to trade up. If all rumors are to be believed, they tried to trade up with the Patriots to get Drake May. That didn't happen, and basically the Giants wouldn't have got it. I think the Giants offered a first-rounder plus this year's first-rounder, a third-round pick, and then so 2 first-rounders and a third-round pick. And I think the Vikings offered 3 first-rounders, and the Patriots turned them down. If you're to believe what's leaked out, so the Giants pivoted from there, and to Joe Shane's credit, and Brian Dable possibly too, they didn't reach for a quarterback. They took probably the most dynamic wide receiver in the draft, Malik Neighbors out of LSU. So that was their first-round pick. Second-round pick was Tyler Nubin, a safety out of Minnesota, who many had as the number 1 safety in the draft. Some of those had Cooper DeJean, the guy who went to the Eagles as a cornerback, though. But as a safety, I think he rates a little bit higher. Then in the third round, they went Drew Phillips, a cornerback from Kentucky. Didn't have any interceptions last year, so stat-wise, a little bit lean. And then fourth round, they took a very intriguing prospect, Theo Johnson, a tight end out of Penn State. His relative athletic score, if you hear RAS said, his RAS score was a 9.93, which is the highest for tight ends since like the last 30 years. But I can't really trumpet that because I think Tyler Nubin's RAS was like 1 point something. So one guy's an athlete, the other one's apparently not. In the 5th round, they took Tyrone Tracy Jr., running back out of Purdue, who looks like he's a great return guy. And with the new rules for kickoffs, this could be an intriguing guy to watch, as well as some interesting numbers he had carrying the ball. He averaged over 6 yards a carry. He's a converted wide receiver, only been playing running back 1 year. He's going to be 25 years old. So on that front, he's an old man, but he's got a lot of tire on him, or a lot of tread on him, because he didn't have many carries. And then in the 6th round, they went linebacker from UCLA, Darius Muasau, who looks like he's going to be a special teamer. But like I said, with the changes in the rules, I think special teams is going to have more of an emphasis on it than it had in the past. So overall, solid draft. The failed trade up attempt, I am happy they didn't go after McCarthy or Penix if they didn't have a high grade on them. They're going to run this, it looks like, with Daniel Jones this year. And, that comes with its own pitfalls. We'll have the Daniel Jones discussion in a little bit. But before we break down the Giants draft, talk about that, let me go through the Jets draft too. So 1st round, the Jets, they actually traded down. And I thought they were going to take Bowers, the tight end out of Georgia, but they went. You want to pronounce the name of the tackle from Penn State, Novak?
Oli Fashanu. I'm not going to try to pronounce his first name.
Boontz? Did you draft him again?
Olumuyina.
Fashanu. Yeah.
1st round pick, offensive tackle. Again, if they pass on Bowers, that's okay if they get their tackle for the next decade or so. Offensive linemen are in short supply. And then they picked in the 3rd round. They did not have a 2nd round pick. They picked Malachi Corley, wide receiver from Western Kentucky. And then they went Big Ten in round 4, Braylon Allen, a running back from Wisconsin. And then in the 5th round, potential replacement for the Dick when he retires, Jordan Travis, quarterback from Florida State. And they had another 5th round pick where they picked Isaiah Davis, running back from San Diego State. And in the 6th round, they went Quantez Stiggers, a quarterback from the CFL. So he's from the Toronto Argonauts. So didn't even have a college affiliation for the CFL. Yep. And then in the 7th round, they went Jalen Key, a safety from Alabama. So they had 2 Big Ten guys, just like the Giants had. A couple running backs in there, quarterback, wide receiver. Looks like they're shoring up on offense.
Yep.
And we'll talk about that as a whole. The draft as a whole was very offensive centric. But
of course,
guys, thoughts about the I'll start with Novak. Thoughts about the Jets draft?
Save the best for last. That's right. Look, like I said last year, because I listened to this pod from last year on my way home from a trip yesterday, so I wanted to see what we said. And I'm going to say the same thing I said last year. I don't know these guys. I don't know if they're going to be any good. Right? I mean, I'm watching this thing and I see Mel Kiper's best available. I'm like, get a safety. I mean, they need a safety. Like, I know this guy. I've never seen these people. Look, I wanted Brock Bowers really badly as our number 1 pick. Didn't go that direction. And I'm fine with that because we got an offensive tackle who's going to back up Tyron Smith and Morgan Moses. And so we got some depth because of Met Death turf. I think this guy's going to need to play. I loved our 2nd round pick, the wide receiver who they give I love when they do plays like whoever. They give him the Deebo Samuel type of guy. And I won't go through every one, but here's one thing I did notice. I saw a lot of running backs being drafted, and I do think it's because of this new kickoff rule. Because the Jets drafted 2 running backs, and I wonder now, because these are short kickoffs, you're not going to have the lanky wide receiver who's a 4.0 speed. You're going to need to have these running back type bodies back there breaking tackles, because you're not going 100 miles an hour. It's almost like a long shotgun, basically, that you're going to be running back. You're going to have 2 deep. So I think you're going to have running back types receiving these kickoffs. So I like the fact they got these 2 running backs. Yeah, I mean, look, I give the Jets a B+. I didn't love the 2 running back thing, but overall, short up our offensive line, got some running backs, got a good fourth wide receiver. I'm happy with it. So way to go, Joe Douglas.
Good job.
Breakdown.
Mikey, what are your thoughts on the Giants draft?
Well, first of all, I have to apologize to Malik Neighbors because, all I heard before the draft was how good this guy was and how good he was going to be. And the Giants would be lucky to have him. And hopefully he falls if the quarterback thing doesn't work out. And since he's been drafted, I've only heard negative things about him. So apparently the Giants drafting him has turned him into a thug. I've heard him called a thug now. And that was, by the way, that he was called a thug because of that thing he had it with LSU pictures in his jacket.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah,
someone called that thuggish behavior. Okay.
Who gives a shit? Can he catch a ball and break away? That's all.
Yeah,
right? He can do whatever he wants.
Yeah. No, I was happy with this draft, and the reason why I think, Scott, you really put your finger on the issue here is that I think they were saved by themselves. That that pick not working out to bring Drake May to the Giants. I think in hindsight, 5-10 years down the road, we'll look at that in a negative way and say, man, imagine if that had happened, the setback this team would have had. Mm-hmm. I really think they were sort of New England not taking that offer. And as you mentioned, they would have never taken the Giants offer. They were going to take Minnesota's if they were interested in trading it. But I really think that was addition by subtraction. I have no idea how good Drake May is going to be, but he just doesn't, to me, feel like the kind of quarterback that you trade up for. If he had fallen to us at 6, or even if we were at 5 and he came to us at 5 and we picked him, I'd be pretty stoked about that. But he just doesn't seem like the guy you trade up to go get. And I think we've seen Giants teams in the past, and I know we've seen other teams in the past who would then panic and draft McCarthy or draft Penix, and they just didn't do that. I'm really glad they didn't do that. They went back to 6. They stayed there, took best player available in a position of need. So yeah, I'm super happy with the pick and more happy with the not trading up. The intriguing pick to me, you mentioned it, Scott, is the tight end. I'm really curious about this guy. Now, I'm a Big Ten fan. I watch Michigan all the time. I will admit, I have no idea who that guy is. I don't recall him in the Michigan game. I don't. But I've seen some stuff after the draft, and I'm pretty intrigued by that. But yeah, I mean, and then the Giants always seem to have one head scratcher pick in the first 4, where everyone's kind of like, that pick doesn't make sense. They did it today. They did it in the draft, I think, with the cornerback from Kentucky,
Drew Phillips.
Yeah, who maybe some people thought was kind of a reach at that position. But again, you're 3-4 rounds into the draft. Who cares what you're doing there? So yeah, overall, I liked it.
You know what's funny about that pick is that I heard a take on the fact that he didn't have any interceptions and the fact that Tyler Nubin had several interceptions, and that when they broke it down, Tyler Nubin, those interceptions didn't look like flukes. You know how we always say interceptions are a fluke stat, but he had put himself in the right position. Then I heard a discussion about Drew Phillips saying he covers really tightly. He sometimes gives up contested catches and things like that. But, the fact that he didn't have any interceptions was sort of a fluke, and he was basically picked right where he was slotted by the experts. So we'll see how it goes. I mean, you never know with some of these guys. Some of these guys blossom late. You just
no
don't
idea
know.
No idea what we're sitting on here.
Yeah.
Cardone.
Well, I was thinking about this. The last time, I hope I have this right, but if I recall correctly, the last time we drafted a receiver from LSU in the first round, I think it worked out pretty well. So so every Giant fan should recall that was Odell Beckham Jr., I think, with the 12th pick, or maybe I think I have that right, around 12.
I thought it was Ruben Randall. It wasn't?
Jesus. Ruben Randall? Who was that?
I thought he was Virginia Tech.
Well, I think he was LSU, but wasn't he he was a second or third round pick?
Something like that. I was so first round LSU. So to Mike's point, I was thinking to mention the same thing. I heard the rumors too that the Giants were looking to trade up for that 3rd spot in Drake May. And I kind of got excited about that at first, thinking like, oh man, that's maybe I was having that fantasy of, our the franchise quarterback and the franchise changing quarterback. And is it Drake May? I don't know. I mean, so the fact that didn't, we don't have to worry about that because it didn't pan out. So now I like the fact that we didn't have to stretch there. And Malik Neighbors, when I heard his name, I got to tell you guys, I was pretty jacked up because we've talked on this pod many times about getting a playmaker at the receiver position, and we just haven't had one. I feel like we've had some of the worst collection of receivers in the NFL. You know, Darius Slayton, is he still our fucking number one? This guy, I mean, again, we've somehow he's still hanging on to a number one. Slayton, I don't know how. So bringing in a talent like Neighbors is pretty exciting. And I saw a number of write-ups. You know, you heard all about. We all know about Marvin Harrison Jr. The guy's phenomenal. But I heard a number of write-ups. I saw more of Harrison in the last year than I saw of Neighbors. I guess just because Ohio State's probably on a little bit more than LSU even, or maybe I just, whatever the case. But the fact that, you know, Neighbors was there at 6 and we got him, I'm thrilled about that pick in the first round. So I feel like we got a real solid, just a playmaker, a dynamic player receiver there. So very excited about that. And I was going to mention this, Novak, to your point, and then the rest of the guys, I don't know these players. You know, like, I don't know these guys. I pretend to be like excited about Tyler Nubin from Minnesota. I don't know. At that point, you're just looking for positions, right? We talk about this on every draft on our pod. We talk about just, you know, drafting for position. So who knows? I don't know. I think I've mentioned as one of my pet peeves when the camera comes around at the draft and, you know, the Giants select Clint Zanarovich from Quinnipiac, and I'm looking at the camera like, yeah! I don't know. Have no idea who these people are. All I know is that they're on my favorite team now, so now I got to pretend like I know everything about Andrew Phillips and Tyrone Tracy Jr. and Theo Johnson, all these guys, but who knows? You know, you bring them into camp, and assuming these guys will make the team, and overall, I'm pretty happy with the draft. If I had to give it a grade, I don't know, maybe same thing. I think you said a B+ for the Jets, Novak. I was thinking the same thing, probably like around a B+. Can't quite give him an A. You know, A is tough there, but all right, we'll say this: the Malik Neighbors pick, as I was going through the draft tracker that night, I think he was the first and only A+ in the first round from Pete Prisco, I think it might have been, or one of the CBS Sports guys gave Neighbors for whatever that's worth, right, guys? I mean, that's all just crap. But it's nice to see the A+ there. At least it's better than seeing a C- in the first round or something.
Yeah.
You know, so you at least hope the Shane and Dable they have some idea what they're doing. But that's my assessment, Scott. So, you know, who knows? Talk to me when the season starts and Neighbors drops a pass over the middle, 3rd and 4. We'll see what we're saying.
Well, you know, the funny thing is, I had several people reach out to me before the draft. Hey, you guys doing a draft preview podcast? And I was like, no. And you know, I listened to so many draft preview podcasts, and almost everyone that had one, you know, maybe they nailed the first round pick and that's it. You know, then these guys started going into, like, it's almost like mock drafts. You go into like 5th and 6th rounds on a draft preview. You have no idea what's going on. You may have watched, like I watched no UCLA games. I couldn't tell you if, you know, Darius Muasau is a good player or not. And that's the thing. Why would I do a podcast that previews the draft when we're just sitting there throwing out names and parroting what everyone else is doing? You know, we try to bring like innovative or at least interesting content. We would just be babbling on for an hour and a half.
Yeah. Go read Jack Kruger's 75th mock. I mean, that's a draft preview.
So
go read Oscar Madison's 25th mock.
You know what's funny about the draft? Like, as I'm watching it, even the first round, I'm thinking to myself, my God, do I even watch college football? Because who are these people? I feel like I watched some of it.
Yeah.
And as they're being drafted, I'm like, who the hell? I don't know anyone.
Yeah. So Novak talked about, you know, some of the thoughts that we had last year during the draft episode. One thing I had this year that we didn't talk about, but did it not seem like the lead up to the draft was like 3 years long? I mean, it just, I literally thought the draft was going to be like 2 weeks before it really happened, because there was so much hoopla about the draft, all these shows in the morning about the draft, and, you know, the road to the draft, the path to the podium, all this shit. And it's just a bunch of people babbling on and on doing their 75th mock draft, like Mike said.
I mean, after about pick 15, we don't know who these people are. I mean, we know a couple here and there. I'm on my jet boards as the draft is going on, and people are losing their minds in the 5th round after not taking a safety from, Eastern Washington University. Like, give me a break. You don't know who these people are. Stop.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
do
So
have
notes.
my notes from last year. Do you want to hear what you
I
guys?
need to hear
I'd
the
love to.
notes.
Yeah.
Okay, so I won't go through all of it. I took a lot of notes because I was driving back and I was cracking up over all of this. First of all, your draft last year, you all loved Banks. You thought that was a no-brainer,
Tay Banks.
right?
He played well.
If Mike was more effusive over Schmitz, I don't know if he could be more effusive over anyone in my life. I mean, Mike was
Love
like
it.
going on and on about Schmitz. He loved Schmitz.
Love Schmidt.
But the funny thing is, do you remember who you guys all agreed was the best Giant pick of all? Eric Gray, a running back from Oklahoma. You were like, this guy is going to be an incredibly Oklahoma running back. You're all like, I love this pick, blah, blah. Like that was your thing. It was funny. I said my thing was Scott asked who was the biggest loser of the draft, and I said the Panthers. We all agreed that Bryce Young sucked, and they very much reached. I think we're all right there. And I'll give Scott credit. Scott chimed in and said, I think the best quarterback of this draft is CJ Stroud. So Scott called that correctly, which I think was really good. Mike killed the Cowboys for Mozzie Smith.
Yeah.
Probably correct.
Yeah,
right?
I don't know if he got into games.
Cardone gave an incredible rant about Ted Stryker being the guy that should have been drafting with sweating with the armpits and everything else.
You're too low, Stryker. Yeah.
Mike also said that this would be the last draft he watched. So, Mike, did you watch the draft this year?
I didn't. I was in a bar playing darts when it happened.
Wow.
So, yep.
A man of his word.
Yep.
Cardone barked that this was the goddamn Grammys as
that
draft last year.
They doubled down on that this year.
Yeah.
We mentioned Stephen A. Smith being on General Hospital was a big a thing for that draft.
Yeah.
And Scott ripped the redraft from the previous year. So
well done, man.
So that was the notes from the draft from last year.
Redrafts are useless. They're more useless than mock drafts.
Agreed.
That's good stuff, man.
So
sounds like a good episode. I might go back.
It was actually
right.
That's like when
actually should listen to it. It was very funny. Like our pet peeves are really funny too. We all had very funny pet peeves in my opinion. So go listen to it. Anyone else that are listening, go listen to last year's draft recap. Was good.
Do we have
That's
a bad episode out there?
When you're watching, Seinfeld, an old Seinfeld, and like there's 2 or 3 storylines going on, you're like, no way those 2 storylines were in the same episode. You know what I mean? You're like, this is amazing.
Yeah. I love trying to figure that out, Mike. When you're watching, whatever it could be. Like the one I was on tonight, I think it was Enzo, where Jerry was getting a bad haircut. He's like, no way, Mike Gino did that. That's an Enzo. And then that's the one where Costanza. That's the Penske file one.
Oh my god.
Yeah. Somehow those seem like 2 like unbelievable episodes by themselves. They're in the same episode.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah.
So even in the draft, the Giants did not escape only the Giants did this. So the Giants were the only team in this draft, by the way, not to select anyone from an offensive line or defensive line position.
Oof.
Wow.
Yeah.
They need help on the offensive line. Look, if we're going into the season praying that Evan Neal is going to be a stud after the way he's performed, that's faith and not actual
I mean, we can get into that a little later if you want, but it seems like they are depending and hoping that Evan Neal is a good player suddenly next year. That's what it seems like.
Now, they did make a couple free agent signings in the offseason, so that's helped. They did sign someone recently, just today, a defensive back, David Long Jr., played for 3 teams last year. And oddly enough, he's not even the only David Long Jr. in the NFL. He's the second David Long Jr. So there's 2 David Long Jr.'s. I don't know how you tell them apart.
They both play the same position?
Well, that I don't know. Sort of like me figuring out who the guy from North Dakota State is.
We got to put Darren on it.
It does seem concerning, right? The Giants always, I mean, as do, because there's a lot of offensive linemen out there, right, in every draft. So I was asked that actually about like, oh, you guys got a really good offensive lineman. Was it Johnson Rod or something? Who was it? I'm like, no, we didn't get an offensive lineman this year. Like, I had to like think about it and go through. I'm like, I'm saying, where's here safety? I'm like, holy shit, where's OL? We don't have one.
I think third round would have been a perfect place for it. Like Mike said, the little head scratcher pick was Drew Phillips from Kentucky.
Yeah.
There were a few offensive linemen on the board there that probably could have at least added some depth. But, here's what I have to say the Giants did this year versus previous years. Mike touched upon it. And what this sort of dovetails into the Daniel Jones discussion here is that once they didn't get their quarterback, they didn't take a prospect lower than 6 to try and get a guy just to be a quarterback. So they took Neighbors. And here's the thing I like about this too. They didn't take like a Spencer Rattler or one of those guys in the later rounds.
Later on.
They have so many holes to fill those holes, build the roster around you. And here's the thing that bothers me when I go on Giants Twitter or go on some of these fan pages. Giant fans as a whole have such a distaste for Daniel Jones that they treat this guy like he's the worst quarterback in the league. And they always say things like, he's literally never had a good season in his career. Did 2022 not even happen? I just don't get how people can see a guy who went to the playoffs and really took the team on his back when he went to the playoffs. He didn't do that last year. We know he had a bad season. He was injured. But how you just say that he can't possibly do things when you're seeing guys like Brock Purdy take teams places? Build the team. If you can't get the quarterback, build the team around you. And then the quarterback will fall into place. If you have Malik Neighbors is going to be here. He'll outlive, I should say, Daniel Jones's career here, most likely.
Yeah.
So he's set up for the next guy. And that's what I don't get about this whole, I really think such a big portion of our fan base is toxic because of the Daniel Jones situation. And people just want him off the team no matter what the consequences are. There's some Giant fans that hated this draft simply because we didn't draft a quarterback.
Oh, yeah.
I think it was great that we didn't draft a quarterback. And I think, I'll say this and I'll turn it over to you guys, but I think that 3 or 4 out of these 6 quarterbacks are going to be middling to bust players in the next 4 years. I can't tell you which 2 are going to be good, but I just think 4 out of the 6.
I think it might even be more, Scott. I don't see greatness in quarterback in this draft. I don't. Like I think I texted to you guys while we were going back and forth during the draft. Like Drake May is maybe the one guy I have a little bit of faith in. And like I said, I would have been pretty pleased if he fell to us, but he still, to me, doesn't seem like a guy you give up multiple first round picks to go get. I think every year this happens. It happens a lot. When the draft starts, these teams talk themselves into this guy being their franchise quarterback. And, where maybe he wasn't even on their radar before, slowly by the time the draft gets here, it's, we're all in on this guy. You've got teams, Minnesota basically trying to pull off like a Herschel Walker trade to get Drake May on their team. It's
if you're the Patriots, why do you turn that down though?
Yeah, I don't know why they don't turn it down. I mean, I agree with that. I would have, if the Patriots deal or if the Vikings deal wasn't there and I was the Patriots, I would have taken the Giants deal too. I would have. I would have, for that many picks from first rounders, I would have, if I were the Patriots, I would have taken those offers. Either one of them.
Yeah. Yeah, to Mike's point, I was not really in love with any of these quarterbacks at all. Not for where the Giants were at 6. If they, we obviously know that they weren't able or they didn't move up. But to your point again, Mike, a lot of these teams, I didn't have a single quarterback on my own personal sheet where you want to mortgage your future for any one of these guys. I really never thought, and Mike, I know he's a Michigan guy, but I think we were all saying that on our text thread, but like, do not draft McCarthy. Just of those I think what he was of the top 6 quarterbacks to go, he was 5th out of that group, right? Because you had, of course, Williams, Daniels, May went 1, 2, 3. Then most people think Penix at 8 with the Falcons was quite confusing. I'm one of those people. Then McCarthy went 10th to Minnesota, and then Bo Nix went 12th to Denver there. So of those 6 guys, that's those were the 6. I wasn't in love with any of them, and it's hard to say. And again, you don't know on draft day which one of these guys are really going to pan out. Like Scott, he said C.J. Stroud last year. I wasn't seeing that even when the season started this year. So you don't know, right? Guys can pan out, other guys don't. We all knew damn well Justin Fields wasn't an NFL caliber quarterback. So
that one seems so obvious.
It would be great if Caleb, and I have nothing against Caleb Williams. Don't even have but imagine he flops just as bad as Fields does going to the Bears. Now Fields was not a number 1 pick, but Williams going there at number 1. So I don't know. Is Caleb Williams going to be a franchise changing quarterback? No idea.
The interesting thing about the Bears is they went out, now that they got rid of Justin Fields, they went out and they brought in Keenan Allen. So they already have DJ Moore. They drafted a wide receiver in the first round with their 2nd pick, who many thought was the most polished of the receivers. So they've given him the weapons, and if Williams starts out poorly, there's going to be a lot of heat there. There's going to be heat there. And I don't know. I actually, my favorite quarterback in this draft, sadly, because he ended up going to the Washington Redskins, was Jalen Daniels. I think he's a little slight.
Agreed.
So I think he can get injured easily. But I think in terms of passing ability and what I've seen from him in the quarterback position, I thought he was the best quarterback. And I knew the Commanders were not going to let him go. And I think the Commanders, it really sucks that Snyder's not running that team anymore, because I think they had a decent draft.
Probably their best one in recent memory. Novak mentioned that we like to look at players and say who they're going to project to, like who they are most like in the pros. JJ McCarthy is Jim McMahon. If you want to compare who JJ McCarthy is to a pro we've known and seen, that's Jim McMahon, and that's just not a top 12 pick.
If I could pile on that, Mike, Matt Miller's pro comp there was Jake Plummer to McCarthy. I wouldn't want Jake Plummer.
Yeah.
Would you guys?
No.
The hell you want Jake Plummer running around in your under center there in your team? No. And McMahon either. So Jim McMahon. If Jake Plummer's the best you can come up with the 10th overall pick, no, man. Sorry.
Yeah, it's not overvaluing quarterbacks.
I don't hate what the Jets did with Jordan Travis.
Yep.
Yeah.
I was pulling for that in round 4 because, look, coming off a bad injury, he's not going to play for 2 years. And if we've seen any quarterbacks in this league, the ones that sit for a year or 2 or 3, Jordan Love, right? Those are the ones that are going to be successful. So finally, of course, I'm probably going to be wrong, but I like to think that maybe this guy's going to sit for 2 years, put on some weight. Maybe he's something that after not playing for a while and learning from, the Dick and Tyrod.
Well, that's the crazy thing about this draft when we're talking about Penix. Penix is almost 25 years old. Mm-hmm. And he goes to a team where he's not going to start right away. You don't know really what's going to happen with him and Kirk Cousins and all of that. But imagine he's there and doesn't start until Kirk Cousins moves on. He could be 28 years old. So at that point, he's exiting his rookie contract. And I just don't get what the Falcons are doing there, unless they plan on moving Cousins right away. And then that makes you wonder why the hell they signed Cousins in the first place. I don't get it.
That's how dumb the Jet fan base is. Because how many people on my Jet threads were saying like, oh, they drafted Penix. Great. So in 2 years, we can get Cousins after Rodgers retires. But that's probably what something Cousins is going to do. He's going to go to a team that probably thinks they can win. And, that guy has done the most for anyone that I can remember, maximized his potential earnings over the course of his career. Because he just has found a way to do it. And I think he's going to do it again in 2 years. Someone will pick him up for 2 years at $25 million.
What'd you guys think of the run on the offensive players in the first round? Do you think this is an outlier because maybe defensive talent wasn't that strong? Or do you think this is the the NFL that the NFL wants, where everything is offensive based. And the secondary question, and this is more of a thing to think about. Does this mean that kids growing up now aren't going to gravitate towards being defenders because being a defender doesn't really matter anymore?
It's hard to be a defender in the NFL
Mm-hmm.
with the rules favoring the offense so much and so heavily now. I don't know if I'm a kid, yeah, I'm looking to be on the offensive side of the ball. So with the first defender, I was just looking at Scott at the board here. Was it 15th?
Yeah.
Do I have that right? Looks like
It was 15th.
Yeah, UCLA, Latu, the defensive edge there, or
yeah.
edge player. Yeah. So, and then
he's a damn good player too.
Oh yeah. Then you had a number of edge edge, and then some other quarterback, this and that. But yeah, you're right. So almost the first half of the first round, all offense. That says a lot. Obviously, quarterbacks are going to dominate that there this year. But yeah, to your point, Scott. Yeah, it's an offensive league. It's what the NFL wants. It's what it's what favors as far as the officials and how the games are called. So yeah, I think it's another few years we're going to see. I don't know, maybe less. Do we see less and less talent on the defensive side of the ball? I'm not sure. I don't know.
That's I 100% think this is a reaction to the NFL, and I specifically think to the way they're calling games and the way the rules are. They are devaluing defense.
Mm-hmm.
The NFL is. So teams have adjusted and adapted and said, yeah, I could go get, Quentin Mitchell, cornerback out of Toledo if I'm the Philadelphia Eagles, and that's exactly who they took. But if he's not allowed to cover anybody, if he's going to get defensive holding calls and illegal contact calls, who I could put anyone back there. It doesn't have to be. I don't have to take a player in the first round to sit back there and soak up penalties. There's a lot of good players in the second half of this draft who should have been taken in the top half. Dallas Turner, the edge rusher out of Alabama, is an awesome player to be going at 17th. Chop Robinson out of Penn State, halfway through the college season last year, they were talking about him as a top 5 pick in the draft. And, he ends up in Miami at 21. Yeah, the defense is undervalued. These teams in the second half of the draft are getting great players. I look at the defensive players, and these are actually people we've been talking about. I don't know these guys. I've heard of a lot of these guys on the defensive side of the ball when you look at the second half of the first round.
I mean, when we were growing up, I think 2 of the best defensive players that I grew up with, I guess Lawrence Taylor, I'm not going to go there, but other than Lawrence Taylor, Mike Singletary and Ronnie Lott, middle linebacker and a safety, those positions are completely devalued right now. When did a middle linebacker get drafted in this draft? 3rd round, maybe? Yeah. I mean, and you don't see these guys getting paid big bucks, nor do you see a safety. It's if you're not a corner, an edge, whatever the fuck that is, a left tackle, a quarterback, or a wide receiver, you have no value anymore. I mean, it is like it's completely changed. I don't know if that's good or that's bad, but I'm going to go, of course, I'm going to defer to it being bad.
Well, I know one of Mike's hot buttons this year is going to be the whole gambling side of things. And this is a fallout of that, I believe, because I think the NFL really, truly, for fantasy football purposes and excitement, they want to see 60 to 50 games. I want a 14-7 game. And I'm not saying that I want to see 14-7 like the Giants and Jets would play. I want to see a defensive battle once in a while. And that's the thing. I also think the NFL has tried their best to increase scoring. And then last year, scoring was way down because the defensive talent actually took over. And so this is where there's a conundrum here. They're trying to overcorrect. I really think it's a bad idea. We're steamrolling towards 18 games, by the way, guys.
Oh yeah.
18 games.
They said that.
That's almost inevitable at this point.
Yep. Yeah. It's happening.
Yeah.
And I know former players are saying, yeah, what about the player safety, this, that, and the other thing? But
it's all a smokescreen. They don't care about player safety.
Come on, tell a player you're going to make an extra $500,000 and they'll do it in a heartbeat.
Yeah. To Novak's point here, the first linebacker of any sort taken in this draft was 45th. So
Wow.
Come on.
Green Bay
Wow.
got the best linebacker in this draft at 45th, 45.
45th.
Yeah.
Wow.
Jeez.
Edgerrin Cooper. Like, okay, I don't know if he's the best linebacker in the draft. Never heard of him, like I said, but he was the first linebacker taken by a lot.
That's
Wow.
crazy.
If you don't count edge guys as linebackers anymore.
Yeah, edge. Right.
Right.
What's the
Again,
difference
someone
between
needs to
an
explain
edge and a
that.
linebacker? Yeah.
Lawrence Taylor would have been
Well,
like, what the
Lawrence Taylor
fuck's
would
an
have been
edge?
an edge, right?
I
He
guess.
probably would have been an edge.
Yeah, the outside, the OLB, that's gone, right? It's
You never hear, you never see DE anymore. Defensive end. It's edge.
gone. It's edge.
Yeah, it's gone.
So
You guys got anything else about the draft before we move on?
Tell you the pick I didn't like it, and Scott pointed out Washington had a pretty good draft, and I agree. And I'm not used to saying that at all. But the pick I hate is Mike Sanders out of Michigan, who went to Washington.
Yep.
He's a good player, man.
Yeah,
he is a really good player, and I hate having to go against him twice a year. He's a pain. He's a ball hawk. I thought that was when I saw. I'm like, what is Washington having a good draft? What's going on?
And didn't they
unlike
get him
them.
in like the third round too?
Late second, I
Second.
think.
Late
or-
second.
Yeah, I'm seeing it here.
I had that as my note, Mike. I said
Yeah.
Washington loved their draft, and I put Sandusky in parentheses because
Yep.
that guy is a player.
Well, and to the point we were talking about before with the offensive run, the Eagles had a pretty damn good draft in the first few rounds too, because they took
did.
the top defensive players that were left.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. The Eagles
They
are
gotta-
like the team at the the guy at the poker table playing against the grain. And it just works out for them. There's probably lessons in what the Eagles do. Although they're still not piling up a bunch of Lombardis, but they're, not yet anyway.
here's where I was proud of my kids. They both went to Clemson. They both have Will Shipley jerseys. They're both willing to burn their jerseys now that Will Shipley was a Philadelphia Eagle, and then
Nice.
Jeremiah Trotter Jr. went to the Eagles too. So 2 Clemson guys.
Good for them. You brought him up well, Scott.
Yes.
So for my surprise this year, I'm not going to say we have a new sponsor, and I didn't go outside of the realm of
Oh no.
of anything to say. I didn't consult you guys on this, so I thought I'd use this as a surprise. So you'll hear it in the intro, which you guys never hear when we're doing the show. But I took it upon myself to sponsor someone, even though we're saying that they're sponsoring us. So I'm just going to give a brief intro. This is going to be a surprise to one of you. So I'm just going to let me do a readout here. So were you pissed when Cazenovia College closed after 200 years of educating students? That's an aspect the media often focuses on when it comes to small colleges, the recent closures and financial struggles. But small colleges offer amazing opportunities for thousands of students and provide unique opportunities that large universities simply can't accommodate. Small class sizes foster close relationships to professors and peers to help students thrive academically, socially, and personally. So what I urge every one of you is to go to smallcollegemovement.com to learn more. Check out their Small College Movement podcast on YouTube and discover why great things happen at small colleges. I say this because I went to a small college at Bucknell University. I know Novak went to a small college right down the road from Bucknell University at Susquehanna.
I did.
So it's one of those things.
Don't forget the Ramapo College. Don't forget Ramapo College of New Jersey.
You fall right in there.
Absolutely.
So check out smallcollegemovement.com.
Well, Scott, thank you so much for that. I was not expecting that at all. I did not ask you to do that. But yes, I have another podcast where I try to be actually civil and not curse and rant on like an angry fool. But I do the best I can. So it's my professional side of me. But sorry. So if you're listening, sorry, Scott was not kicking me out of the podcast. I'm still in for another year. So sorry.
There's a lot of synergies here because there's a lot of players from small colleges that we can feature every week.
Absolutely. Appreciate that. And yes, I will sponsor the podcast. We can do that every week. No, I'm just kidding. We won't do that.
Who is this guy? I'm on Small College Movement here. Look at this. He looks like a professional and everything. What the hell's going on?
I know. See,
Good
I'm not
stuff,
supposed.
man.
My professional life is not supposed to own my alter ego wearing a Knicks jersey. like
World
I'm
world
22
colliding
years old.
here.
Worlds are colliding.
If this Novak is allowed to enter this world, then the Novak that we know as you know it ceases to exist. Angry Jets fan cursing Novak. I love that Novak. And me too. And you're killing him.
You're killing independent Novak.
What's it called? Small College what?
Smallcollegemovement.com.
Movement.
Yep, and there's a podcast in there. Yes.
That's awesome. I thought we were going a different way when he said this might come as a surprise to one of you. I thought he was going to say we're now sponsored by DraftKings. So I was going to have to go on every week. I'm going to have to put my whole agenda of gambling on the back burner.
I really did think for a second there I was getting kicked out. Just so you know, I was getting a live boot.
I thought maybe instead of a hair remover product, I thought it was going to be maybe like Tops or something like that, or one of those hair replacement things on the top of your head or something. I thought it was going to be the opposite or something.
Like Silvio
I don't know where you
used
were
to
going.
The Chinese have done it, my friends.
So you guys got pet peeves this week. I'll start with Cardone.
You know, I kind of thought about this, and I probably I might have done this one last year with the Grammys. Novak, brought up the Grammys from last year, but going into, you guys know how I feel about the combination of Hollywood and all the bullshit. And the one thing I fear about the draft is, again, all of the stuff that happens pre-draft. So I've probably used this pet peeve before. So again, I'm already, here we are early, episode 2 or 1, whatever it is of season 5. And I may be doing a rerun here already, but I was watching one of the networks on, on Thursday. So draft morning. And sure enough, I don't remember which player it was, but the camera, they're showing, he puts a fucking shoebox up to the camera of something. God knows, who cares what this guy's wearing, right? And there it is. I said, God damn it. I'm like, there it is. We have to worry about what this guy's going to have on his feet 12 hours from now when he's being drafted. I don't even know. It wasn't even one of the top prospects either. There's some guy who's probably being drafted, like 22nd in the draft. I got to worry about what's on this guy's feet instead of just worrying how he's going to help his new football team, be successful. So once again, guys, that part of the draft, I know I've said this one before, so I'm kind of beating a dead horse here with the draft, but I honestly didn't have any pet peeve better than just mocking the pre-draft horse shit that we're just accustomed to and is now built into this event. Novak, we all said it on we have our own text, of course, amongst ourselves. We talk about it all the time. And Novak, you made a point of, why am I not as excited about this year's draft as in previous drafts? Mm-hmm. Because I can think back to when it used to be on a Saturday and it was, you built your whole day around it and I loved it. And now I got to be honest, guys, that night I was watching the Knicks, I was watching the Islanders, I was watching playoff hockey, playoff basketball. I had the draft on, but after the Giants made their selection, that was it. I was sort of disinterested after that. So it's everything about the draft that isn't the draft. That's my pet peeve.
I mean, if you really think about it, how stupid are we as a society? We have 1 million people live to watch someone read off a cue card, to call someone's name. How dumb is this? Like, we're real fans. We should be watching it in the felt forum, like we said last year with the helmet phone and the cigarette smoking and the pit stains and everything else. And we gotta, this garbage that we gotta sit through for 3 days. Ridiculous.
Guys, 4:30 in the afternoon, and all of a sudden I hear, we got a report. Caleb Williams is going to have silver colored fingernails and Drake May's wearing Hugo Boss.
There you go.
Yep.
Fingernail colors.
Fits.
That's where we are. And the sad thing about this, a lot of times it's the media's fault for paying attention to it, right? That's the bottom line. but it's really the players. They dig this. The players like this. The Fitz thing. They like to one up each other, and
They do.
And it's it's not going to stop. I mean, if it were media driven, then at some point the players might say, the heck with this. And some players do, like some guys show up with overalls on and hiking boots, and that's, they're making their own statement. But it's so dumb. I can't wrap my head around. I can't even begin to express how dumb that this all feels to me. Cardone said it. I'll get back on the text thread. Cardone and I were on the exact same wavelength when whatever they were doing. I couldn't tell. I was in a bar, but they brought like the top prospects out on the stage first or something before the draft even started to do like a pace lap. I have no idea what they were doing, but it's like it's really this whole league, this game, everything about it is just really getting down to the end of the drain right now. It is circling.
Yeah.
It's all garbage. All garbage.
It is.
Think about how many times during the first round did they have like a little break every 5 picks or so where they would bring in like a group of someone. Like it's the Teachers Association or this is the veterans. And it's like now we're not just announcing players. We now have to make a show of every pick that goes on. And it's I actually don't mind in the second and third round when they have a former player come out because there's a little nostalgia there. But the whole idea of like, behind the veterans or the teachers or, the inner city, whatever that they're doing, I just don't, it's a football game. I don't understand why the draft has now become just a variety show, basically.
Yeah, dog and pony.
Have you guys ever been to an actual draft in
No.
any sport?
No.
So I was at a draft. I went to the Kobe Bryant draft. It was at Brendan Byrne Arena or Continental Airlines Arena back in the day. And because I was a huge Knicks fan then. It was the John Wallace year, by the way. It is so fucking boring to be at that thing live because you watch it on TV, at least you get the commentary and things are going around it. Try going to that thing. It was stupid. I was so bored after 1 hour of that thing. But somehow they make it a spectacle. How they do it, I don't know. Because
was there nothing like over the PA, like in between picks and stuff?
No.
What were they doing? It was just dead air?
Music or something.
Yeah.
We're talking to each other. They're showing statistics. It was boring as hell. I wanted out of there after the first 5 picks.
That's lame.
Yeah, it was bad.
Novak, pet peeve?
Yeah, I've got 2, but one quick one. First of all, my organization, the Jets, another new uniform. Come on, would you stop with this? I just bought a fucking Sauce Gardner jersey last year. Now I got to buy another one because I'm like a child. I have to have the new one. So I got to spend all this money to get a hat and a shirt and a jersey and everything else. Stop with the uniforms. How about just win? Forget about the uniforms. So that's my number 1. Number 2, I'm going to go to the draft. And I said the same thing last year, but it was a different term. Cardone brought it out last year because I told you guys I listened to it. Last year, the term was, let's get to work. That was the theme of the year.
Yes.
Right? So this year's theme was sacrifice. If I had to hear one more time, these reporters said, how much have you sacrificed to get to this point? I was going to lose my fucking mind. So I was angered by I'm now, because of you guys, I'm hyper focused on these reporters asking these questions, which are so dumb and inane and stupid that I had to I'm so focused on it now. So my favorite part of the draft is this reporter, I don't remember her name, goes up to the mother as they do every year. And she's got this Jim Nantz thing. She's got to try to make someone cry, like Jim Nantz, Scotty Scheffler's walking up 18. Scotty Scheffler, his wife at home with child, blah, blah, trying to get everyone to cry. And she goes to the mom. She goes, how far have you come as a family? She goes, we came from Baton Rouge, Louisiana.
Somebody finally answered with some intelligence.
And I was like, yes.
Yes.
I went from anger that she asked that stupid question again to finally someone gave an answer. And this woman did not know what to do with this. So I
was
was just
answered literally where you came, where
Yeah.
you
How far
showed
have
up
you come?
from.
We're about a
Yeah.
7-mile drive or a 7-hour drive up from whatever it was. It was great.
That is awesome.
So yeah, I was annoyed with the reporters trying to get everyone to cry and asking how far have you come and how have you sacrificed and all that crap that they ask every single year with the same thing. So that's mine.
Yeah, it's like the Olympics. That's what I compare the draft to. The draft is like the Olympics. There's 36 seconds of action with something, and then 2 hours of special interest with the heart tugging
McKay.
music.
Mhm.
Yeah. How they came back from injury or they missed the Olympics by a .001 at their, but I can't do it.
Wait till this year when you have breakdancing in the Olympics.
Oh God.
Like, I don't even know. Like, some things I could see as a sport. When has anyone said, "Hey, have you gone out to the breakdancing competition over there?"
I'll tell you, the way we are as a country right now, it is kind of a travesty that we have breakdancing and not pickleball. Pickleball probably ought to be there.
Should be there.
Mike, pet peeves?
Yeah, I will stay on the draft as well. And my pet peeve for the week was something that I have to out myself as actually having watched a little bit of it to have noticed this. But it's kind of tied to a pet peeve I had, I think last year, maybe the year before, about how no one sucks anymore, right? When the announcers are just like, oh, everyone's great, blah. And that now goes into the draft. Like every pick is great. And immediately after the team makes it, and even if it's a head scratcher like the Atlanta pick, there's no real conversation about that it was bad. It was, oh, I see what hey, everyone, I see what they're doing here. It's like there's no remember Mel Kiper's just continuing to show that they have no idea what they're doing. Like that doesn't happen anymore.
No, it doesn't.
Every
Nope.
pick is fantastic. And they got such a talent here. I can't believe he was still on the board. They say that for every pick. This guy should have been gone 5 picks ago. But you've said that about every player. Like they can't all be in the top 10. So that was my real thing that got under my skin, especially on day 2, which I did watch a little bit of Friday evening. Because that second and third round is where you start getting into players. Like not everyone's great, not everyone's going to be great out of there. So, I just found it annoying is probably the word.
It's awesome.
That's awesome. And they
is.
were doing that on day 3 because the Jets had Mr. Irrelevant this year, which never happened. So I was curious to see what they did. So I watched the end of the 7th round. I have to admit, these guys were talking these guys up in the 7th round.
Yeah.
They might have gotten a steal here. This guy could contribute if he gets the right coaching. And of course, they're blowing up the coach, whoever it was. They're going to coach him up, and he's going to contribute. Bullshit. These guys aren't going to be on the street in 3 weeks.
Yeah. No, it is funny that the minute that that Friday evening started, the word steal. I must have heard the word steal like 75 times.
Yes.
Like they didn't say it in the first round that much. Maybe a couple of later picks. But man, on Saturday when I was watching, it was, that's the steal. This kid is all right. We'll see.
So I have a continuation of something we were talking about earlier, and then something that's relevant that happened just last couple of days. But draft wise, we were talking about 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th picks. Fan bases are going nuts over these guys, either positively or negatively, and it cracks me up. Like one of the Giants that got drafted, Tyrone Tracy Jr., the running back from Purdue. People are killing. Oh, he's only played 1 year at running back. This, that, the other thing. Well, it's like, yeah, but he's had kickoff returns. He's a guy who's got like 6.2 yards per carry. This, that, and the other thing. Here's the thing: a guy sitting on their couch on a message board. He's watched how many games of San Diego State to complain about the Jets pick of Isaiah Davis?
South Dakota State. Scott?
South Dakota State.
South
sorry.
Dakota State.
I saw
yeah.
SD. Sorry, South Dakota State.
Wasn't he
You're
like
right.
what is South Dakota State? I don't like the Grasshoppers or what? That's some weird name or the
Oh, oh my God,
Jackrabbits.
Jackrabbits,
Jackrabbits.
right? Yeah.
That's right.
But I mean, this is the kind of stuff like fans just have to have like. There are a few picks for the Giants where I'm just like, I have no reaction. It's like, okay,
yeah,
because I don't know the guy, never seen the guy play.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
my reaction is one of indifference. It's of I will wait and see. To Cardone's point, you got guys that are like, the camera's on them, like, what the hell is going on? And you're like, you've heard of this guy? Have you really heard of this guy?
Right. Okay. No way.
It's craziness.
Just
and then
reacting.
my second pet peeve is a term that keeps popping up, and we saw it with some of the stuff that's going on with Deion Sanders right now. But it's also, to me, it also filters into a little bit to society, because if you're not great, what are you? You're mid. The term mid. What's so bad about being mid? Like, is mid's an insult now? Like, you're not great, you're just mid. Well, you know what? If I'm a 7th year senior on the bench of a basketball team for a Division I team, I'm still playing Division I basketball. Should I be shit on because I'm mid?
Somebody has to be mid.
Yeah, no, that's like that kind of leaks back into mine. Like, nobody's mid, and nobody is. That's an insult, and I really think these announcers and the other players, there's no critical eye anymore, because the players get angry at them. The players used to let that stuff slough off and be like, well, I'm gonna, I'll show them. They can say whatever they want. Now players like they tweet at the people. Oh, you dissed me, blah, blah, just going, I don't, that's an 80s term probably, but that's my relevant.
Still relevant. Yeah.
Well, I don't know if you guys have been following the whole thing with like Deion Sanders, but Colorado's come under fire because these guys that are leaving are saying they were disrespected by Deion. And then of course Deion doubles down on this by disrespecting them by going, dude, I didn't even know who you were. Quarterback.
Deion Sanders should pray that he is mid this year, because that
he was
fucking
4-8 last year.
He won't win 3 games this year.
Was he 4-8 last year? Is that right?
4-8. He won.
Yeah.
Two games against bad teams.
Weren't they ranked like 17th, like early in the season when they were 3-0 or some bullshit? Didn't they start off like whatever it was
or something? They beat TCU and all of a sudden everyone was losing their minds over. He's a sportsman of the year. Don't get me started on this guy.
Yeah,
the most hyped 4-8 team ever. By the way,
of course,
not even close.
Syracuse starts out 4-0 every year, and they usually end up like 5-7 or something like that.
Yeah,
we're not talking about Syracuse like, hey.
I'm saying it on May 1st. Deion won't win 3 games this year.
Mark
my word. Mark it down. 3 games, maybe 3. That's it. This guy's so over freaking rated. It's ridiculous. Mid. He's gonna give guys crap about that. Give me a break.
So I do have to give it. Go ahead.
Before you go there, I want to tell you guys about this. So I was in the bar playing darts when the draft was on, and there was this guy at the bar, and I'm embarrassed to say he was a Giants fan. He had a Giants hat on, right? And he is like Cardone. He is losing his mind to every pick. Like the only pick he didn't was the first Bears pick, because I think he had his time with that. But every the first 2-3 picks on the third pick, they're like, oh, he took May. Oh, and he's just like, and then so the Giants pick it. He's super happy. He's like, that's the other thing. I didn't go there. I left that out. But when the teams pick, their fans all look at the camera and they're like, yeah, that there's remember you used to see him sometimes. The people would be like, who?
Yeah.
No, nobody does that anymore.
No. Palms up, Mike. This one, like looking around. You don't see that anymore.
No.
There's the classic one when the Jets drafted Ken O'Brien and they showed the guys and they're like this, all with their hands in their heads. Like, you got to be kidding me.
No, it's the best pick ever now. But
Phil Simms got booed out of the building. I mean, not that he was in the building because they didn't used to do that, but I mean, everyone remembers Rozelle announcing Simms, right?
Coming up and laughing before he even read the card because he knew what the reaction was going to be.
Oh, he was also calling out Moorhead State. So
this guy cheered for the Giants pick, right? He cheered for the Giants pick, and then for like the next 6 picks, he would lose his mind over like the big one was where the Bears took Adusne. He's like, the Bears got Oduzne now. Oh my God. He's putting his head down on the table. I was trying to get my phone propped up to get some video of the guy, but it was too obvious. Because at first I thought, well, by the time I get my phone up, he'll have stopped. He never stopped.
The whole time. And he's your Giant brethren.
Yeah.
There's a reason Giant fans were voted as some of the least intelligent in the league last year.
I mean, the Giants had already picked. They don't have another pick until the next night. And he's losing his mind about pick 17, 18, 19. This guy goes off the board now. Are you kidding me?
I went to bed at like pick 21. I'm going to be honest with you. And I'm thinking the Giants definitely aren't going to trade up. But the Panthers did trade up. So there was that happened into the last pick of the first round.
Scott, can you explain that? I heard that there's something about a first round draft pick where.
So the first round draft pick, I think their contract's 5 years. If it's after that, it's 4 or 3. So you basically have an extra year of
you get the 5th year option thing.
Yeah, you get the option with them.
Yeah. As I heard that as to why the Panthers did that, not really that they were afraid someone was going to take their guy. It was more about having a 5th year option on the guy they did take.
Yeah. By the way, David Tepper's at it again. There was a restaurant in the Charlotte area that had a sign that said, "Let the GM and head coach make the picks." And Tepper actually went into the restaurant and confronted the owner about having the sign out there. No, I think it was done in decent taste, but still, you're the owner of a football team and you're going in and talking to people about what they have on the outside sign.
That organization is doomed. Let's be honest.
Doomed.
Come on.
So doomed.
What pisses me off is that people are already doing, and this could have been one of my mock drafts as a whole are sort of my pet peeve, but people are doing 2025 mock drafts. And of course they have the Giants at 3. I'm like, how do you even wait, the Giants are going to be the 3rd worst team in the NFL. And this is what we're saying, Panthers are the worst team. Then I think it was like the Cardinals or something like that. And who everyone loves all of a sudden? The Bears. The Bears have elevated themselves now into the playoff contention discussion.
We haven't learned our lesson with the Bears.
So you're right, Scott. I just looked it up. And 2025, way too early NFL mock draft. Pick number 1, New York Giants via trade with Panthers. Like predicting trades already. Carson Beck.
Carson Beck. Yeah, we need a quarterback. Yeah, There you go.
That's awesome.
So we got a few questions this week. Before we get into the questions, I got to give a shout out to a friend of the pod. So I did a stair climb this week. I do the stair climb every year with my friend Bruce. For those that are on Big Blue Interactive, he's BB56. He came into town. Great to see Bruce. His wife Beth did a stair climb for the first time. But one of our avid listeners, Scott Tyler, did a stair climb for the first time.
All right.
And Tyler beat all of us. So he is until we can climb another staircase, he's the cheetah because he just flew up that thing. We were talking pre-climb about some of the techniques that the top climbers are doing. I think Tyler took it to heart. He broke 10 minutes, which is better than I've ever done. But then again, I'm a fat, old, out of shape guy. But
did you promise him the first kicker in the draft or something, or what motivated that guy?
No. So friend of the pod, Tyler is known as the cheetah. He's fast Scott. I'm slow Scott until I can prove otherwise.
Right on.
So we got a few questions. Chris Coons has asked us, what does Jerry Jones mean by all in? So the Cowboys have talked about being all in this year. I honestly want to know what's up with all in because, hey, by the way, championship piece of the puzzle, the Cowboys re-signed Ezekiel Elliott this week.
I know. I saw that. Did you guys hear about that?
No. Look at that.
And I hated him immediately again. Yeah, I hated him. Then I was like, completely indifferent. And then I just pictured him in that cowboy jersey again, wearing the 21, and I immediately started hating him again. Yes,
Feed
me, asshole.
So I'll tell you what, the Cowboys, I think the Cowboys and the Eagles are in interesting positions. You know, the Eagles just re-signed both Devontae Smith and A.J. Brown to big contracts. And if I look at those contracts, I'm thinking to myself, A.J. Brown quit on his team last year at the end of the year.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And they just re-signed him to a huge deal. That could be an interesting thing. The Cowboys, they lost Michael Gallup. You know, they lost a few pieces here. They are at this year is basically it. Dak is either going to do it this year or they're going to have to figure out what to do with Dak. So when Jerry says they're all in, I'm not sure what moves they've done to make themselves all in.
They've not done anything.
Well,
no, that's what I mean. They can't because they're up against the cap right now. But
look, it's May 1st. We can all say exactly what's going to happen with this team. They're going to be 10-7, 9-8. They're going to lose in the first round of the playoffs and be done again. I mean, they're like the most boring organization in sports. You know exactly what they're going to be.
I've watched poker on, ESPN, and guys go in all the time, and guess what? They're going home like 30 seconds later. So you want to go all in? Go ahead, be my guest. You don't have anything. You don't have the nuts. You got nothing.
Yep, that's a good point, Cardone. He said all in. He didn't say what hand he had.
Right.
I'm all in.
Yeah.
What you got? 6'4", unsuited.
Right.
Yeah.
Our friend Ogre asked and he's a Jets fan. He asked if only one 300-pounder is sufficient to protect the dick. Now that Mekhi Becton is with the, he went to the Eagles, didn't he?
He did.
Yeah.
He did go to the Eagles. Yes.
So
I don't know. I mean, I think they have 5 guys that are over 300 pounds now. Between Tyron Smith, Morgan Moses, Simpson, the guy from the Ravens, Tippmann, and Vera Tucker. But it's still not going to be enough for the dick. He'll still blame someone other than himself if they lose. So, later in the summer when we get into predictions, I'm not going to unveil it now. But I think I'm not going to go there. But no, that's still not enough. That he needs more offensive linemen because of the Met Death turf. We probably need to go about 15 deep of offensive linemen.
By the way, has there been footage of the dick moving around pretty gingerly, or is he at full speed, or we don't know? They're keeping that under wraps until minicamp.
He's in a darkness retreat for the last month. He's going to come out in about another 3 weeks. So we won't know, but early signs are that he's walking around in his darkness hole fairly well. So I think we're going to be fine.
I can't believe I expect him to be like coming out of a hot yoga class or something somewhere. Right? I can see the dick just like somehow someone spots him going into a hot yoga studio or something.
Sweaty ponytail.
Yeah.
Yeah. I saw where the Jets offensive line has given themselves a nickname already. And I thought, well, that's really kind of strange, but they're calling themselves the Cup because they protect the dick. But
that's awesome.
All right, bye guys. Hideout.
Yeah. Showmanship.
And of course, pods would not be replete if we didn't have questions from Peacock.
All right.
So Peacock actually asked, how worried were we that we're going to take JJ at 6? And you know what? I actually said before the draft we're taking Neighbors. I'd heard the rumors about moving up to get Drake May, and I thought they were just that, rumors. Turns out there was smoke behind that. But I thought we were going to pick Neighbors. That's the one pick I think I nailed, just because I don't think you pass up a guy like that for a middling quarterback from the Big Ten.
No, it's good. I mentioned it earlier tonight. I was slightly worried. I don't know if I could put how much of a weight on that, but I didn't hear any pre-draft, talk, rumors, anything about the Giants, grabbing McCarthy at 6. So I wasn't that worried, but there was a tiny bit of me. I'm like, they're not going to do that, right? No way, no how, no way. So Peacock, good question. Cause I would say it crossed my mind and it was there for a little bit, but I was I couldn't see it. I was trying to envision his name being picked, or announced, and I couldn't see it at the last minute. So when the Giants were on the clock, I had a feeling it was going to be Neighbors. At that point, with him being there, I'm like, they better go Neighbors, But in the back of my mind, somewhere in there, I was like, they better not go McCarthy. I do not want to. And I didn't hear or anything about the Giants going that direction. So it was, I don't know, maybe 3% worried that they might go McCarthy. I'd say about that.
Yeah, I was a little bit more than that actually. I was nervous that they might pick McCarthy, but part of me there was of course. I mean, I don't think anyone could deny this. There was a part of me that's like, okay, if they pick him, I'm going to be down on him. But man, wouldn't that be cool if he went from Michigan to the Giants and became an actual good quarterback?
Mm-hmm.
So, there was a part of me that was thinking that. I didn't want them to pick him at all. But as I waited and waited on that pick, my stomach was kind of like, I'm like, just don't do it, Giants. Just please, just don't do this. And I was relieved. I let out a little bit of air when I saw Neighbor's name come up on the street. I was like, okay, all right, all right.
He also asked us who improved the most in the NFC East. Now, I will say this: we talked about Smith and Brown getting re-signed by the Eagles, and that they picked a few really good defensive players in the draft. We all liked the Redskins draft, and the Cowboys were sort of just there. I don't think they improved. I don't think they got worse. Here's one thing I found interesting though. When I was looking at those mock drafts for 2025, the Giants are consistently picking in the top 5, whereas all of a sudden the Commanders are like outside the top 10. And you're going to go to bat with a rookie quarterback. You've had a team that's not been great going, for the last 6-7 years, much like the Giants. How much did you really improve just by getting a new quarterback? And that's part of the argument I have with the Giants fans that say Daniel Jones is the problem with the Giants. You replace Daniel Jones with a rookie, you're still looking at a 3 to 4 win season probably. If you have Daniel Jones, you have the chance at the playoffs because you have those growing pains of the rookie. I think Jalen Daniels is going to take some growing pains. He could be at the worst case be a Justin Fields type guy. So I don't know. I really didn't see any teams that improved all that much. If anyone did, I'd say not the Eagles, but the Eagles picked really good players in the draft, I thought.
Yeah, they did.
I liked what the Commanders did, not just in the draft, but I thought in free agency. That is the team that historically has overpaid for the aging free agent defensive tackle or defensive end or edge that is 2, 3, 4 years past his prime, and they overpay for him. They haven't done that. They've made some smart, and I can't think of who they were off the top of my head, but I remember thinking when I saw who they signed, like, that's smart. Maybe they actually have some people know what the hell they're doing there finally. So I would have said the Commanders, in my opinion, from an outsider's perspective, did really well this offseason.
But did it move the needle on them? That's what I
think it moved the needle on them because they were so bad. I mean, they can't beat you guys. I mean, they lose every freaking time. So I think they've gone from a 6-win team to an 8-9 win team based on what they did. But I could be completely wrong.
Yeah, I don't disagree, Novak, but I would put another year between now and that.
Could be.
I think they did a lot of good things and they really helped themselves. I don't know that it's going to show up right now. Because I don't think the quarterback they selected, who I agree with what with everyone said earlier, that the quarterback they got, when all is said and done, 8-9 years from now, might be the best quarterback out of this draft. But just going in as a rookie, I just don't think they're going to be able to improve that much while he catches up. Because he's also, in my mind, much less so than Drake May, a little less so than the first pick, Caleb Williams, the least NFL ready, in my opinion. That's just my opinion. But I think every team in the NFC East got a little bit better, and the Cowboys stood pat. I don't know how anyone could argue that the Cowboys got better. They haven't done anything.
They didn't.
So all they did was get older. They didn't really do much at all. and their picks were, the Cowboys sometimes do a good job of going deep into drafts and pulling players out who end up contributing. But it's hard to say that is the case now. I think this is going to be, again, wildly unpopular. You guys have heard me say it before. I think this Giants offense this year, they're not going to be great, but they're going to be better without Saquon Barkley. And I think that for a lot of reasons. One, they won't feel it necessary to just feed one guy the ball 100 times. Two, defenses are going to back off the line of scrimmage, especially without Barkley back there. And then you say our offensive line on paper looks quite a bit better than it was last year. I don't think you're going to be able to just jam up to the line of scrimmage, on all 4 downs this year. I think we're going to be able to run the ball a little bit, and provided Daniel Jones stays healthy, which, is my biggest problem with Daniel Jones now is, it used to be like, I used to say, how can you say this or that about the kid? He got hurt. Well, now I've just said he got hurt too many times, right? So now it's like, I don't want him here because he keeps getting hurt. So that's where I am now. But if he stays healthy, I know he can play, and I know he's a top half of the league quarterback if he's healthy. I don't care what anybody says. I don't care what any other fan says. I don't care what any reporter says. I know if Daniel Jones could hang in there and play 16 games, that the Giants are a playoff team. They probably were last year, and they certainly were the year before that because they were. So yeah, I've never seen a guy get so demolished because he gets hurt. Now I've come so far to the other side of that where I'm pissed off that he keeps getting hurt now. And if he can't stay healthy, I want him gone, because we're just tied up in this endless loop with him now. And if it happens again, then, I'll be first in line, like just cut bait, draft a kid, try to do try to do the thing where we sign Kurt Warner to let the new kid develop under, or go get a Kerry Collins from another team to help us bridge a gap here. But if Jones gets hurt again this year, I mean, sayonara, happily.
Yeah. And I think that's one of those things too. We've all said, like, the Giant fans that treat him like he's Nathan Peterman piss me off.
Yeah.
I think all of us, even Novak included, has said his biggest weakness, or the biggest thing to worry about, is just his durability and whether or not he's injured or not.
Yep.
When he plays decently. And here's the thing you have now. Devin Singletary is a decent running back. You have depth at the running back position. But what you have at wide receiver with Neighbors now, you have a guy who can stretch the field. You have a guy who can run any route. You have Wan'Dale Robinson that can run short routes and is really shifty. And then you have Jalen Hyatt that can go deep.
Yeah,
if you can't get those guys, get those guys in space, then we'll start asking questions about Daniel Jones. And I know people are like, well, it's year 6. What quarterbacks have blossomed in year 6? Well, there's a guy who introduced some picks the other day and was a 2-time Super Bowl winner, Jim Plunkett, that blossomed a little bit late. But put that aside. I don't even want to go back into history. Just, it can happen. We've seen Daniel Jones make playoffs in year 4, and that wasn't good enough for some people. So,
yeah, I mean, and okay, it's his year 6 by year. It's like year 2.5 by number of games played. So.
Yeah, sort of like with Sims. Sims was injured how many times in his early going?
Yeah.
So
that's actually a good
that is a good
example
parallel
for
right
those
there.
people who are saying that. You don't even have to look further than your own damn team, you idiots.
Well, there was one
Sims couldn't get Mark Brunell off the field.
I was gonna say Sims was outplayed by Scott Brunner. Scott Brunner was a starter. Yeah.
That's what I'm looking. That's what I was thinking of.
Yeah. I knew you were talking about.
Yeah.
So Peacock also asks a question here, and this one's for Novak. So how upset will Novak and Jets fans be when Zach Wilson is the comeback player of the year?
That's a good one.
That is good. That's a good one. There's no chance.
No, there is no one that died last year on the field, so there is a shot Zach Wilson can get this.
True. Look, Zach Wilson's not gonna. I mean, come on, Zach Wilson, give me a break. No, that would be really upset. Actually, it wouldn't be upsetting. Zach Wilson is not a New York guy. He should be on a team like that, or the Clippers, as Cardone calls them, or someone like that. He's not a New York kind of guy. He's about as blue collar as a Kardashian. Like, no, we don't need this guy. Let him go be fine out there in Denver. I don't give a shit.
Tyrod may have to step up when the dick blows out his other Achilles and play for.
That's right.
Peacock is an A+ troll, man.
He really is. He's really good. I've never met the guy. He is very good at that. He knows how to get under skin. That is well done. Well done, Peacock.
So you guys got anything else tonight?
I had one I thought was funny back in the back to these how do these people have jobs that are covering the NFL? So the analysis of McCarthy to Minnesota, I don't know what reporter this is, but one of the analysis that I saw said it's a pretty good pick for Minnesota. They've got Sam Darnold there if it doesn't work out right away, and he can learn, he can stay on the bench. I'm like, what the hell are you talking about? Like, what is Minnesota going to go to the playoffs with Sam Darnold while JJ McCarthy's getting ready? No, you don't play Sam Darnold if you have JJ McCarthy.
That'll last 2 games.
If week 1, snap 1, if Sam Darnold is the starter for Michigan, Minnesota's made a terrible mistake.
Yeah.
By the way, what happened to the guy Josh Dobbs? Remember he started out in Arizona, did decently, went to Minnesota, sort of floundered.
Is that the guy with no eyebrows?
Is he just floundering now, or is he with anyone?
Where is he? I don't know. He looked unbelievable. Remember how good he looked against the Giants?
Oh, he was throwing on the run. He was throwing he was dropping dimes in all over. He was throwing it like into a keyhole.
Threading the needle, looked like a mix between Lamar Jackson and Joe Montana. Like you just couldn't stop the guy.
Once Kirk Cousins went down, it was like they had a rotating just slate of quarterbacks that I never heard of.
Yeah, there was a guy that played at like week 18 that won me my fantasy league because he sucked so bad and couldn't throw to Justin Jefferson. So thank God for them. No, but Darnold, what's he going to say to JJ McCarthy? Look out for those ghosts, man. That's all you got to worry about.
Yeah.
All right. So I did hear that the schedule is going to be released in 10 days or so. So we probably won't have a pod next week, but we'll have a pod the week following to break down the schedule. And then minicamp starts in another 10 days as well. Rookie minicamp. But we won't come back in full until July, August when they do the regular camp. So it's been good catching up, guys. Season 5, new sponsor, everything else that's going on. It's good to have things on board.
Go Knicks, go Rangers.
That's right.
So we'll see everyone in a couple weeks. One of my favorite podcasts is always breaking down the schedule.
Oh, I love the schedule. I like the schedule release more than even the draft, I think.
I really don't want to go down this road, but we're all excited to see him play the Panthers. Lots of rumors coming out that game's going to be in Europe. So I'm hoping that's not the case, but we'll know in 8 days or whatever it is.
Have they ruined the schedule release like everything else? Do they do some corny thing?
Yeah, like the whole primetime show. Yeah,
I think they do it. They do a primetime show now. Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's been going on for a couple
it's like
years.
Revealing the brackets. Is that?
Yeah, but 2 days prior, they will softly release the one in Brazil and
the primetime games for the first weekend. And
like we already know the first game of the year is the Eagles Packers in Brazil on Peacock.
Oh, right.
Peacock exclusive.
And it's a Friday. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a Friday.
Give me a break.
Yep.
Yeah. Carnival.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So we are the three, your Giant fans and a Jet fan. This is your host, Scott, Giant Mike, Cardone, and Jets fan Novak. We will see you guys in a couple weeks.
Bye, y'all.
Go Knicks.